Hello and welcome back to Stack Cash's AMA. This is our 10th AMA. Stack that up. Stack that up. Stack it up. I am Money Mo, one of the board members here at Stack Cash, and I'm happy again to be with you guys. This has been 10 weeks in a row, and we'll keep going just so everyone can have a clear understanding of what the Stack Cash DAO and protocol is. And not only just that, to get some clear understanding about what we offer and what's going to be coming forward. So we're happy to have you all again. And as you come in, just for some house cleaning, please feel free to hit the like. Definitely want to increase the algorithm of Stack Cash. Also, if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe. Hit that red button if you're on YouTube, or we have some people that could be watching on Twitter. Same there. Feel free to follow us and learn more about the Stack Cash protocol. As we're kind of getting out of our infancy and moving into to the toddler stage. So we're really excited to be joining you guys today. Again, I am Money Mo, one of the board members here. We might have other board members on, or we might have other committee members on, and also just general DAO members. If you're a member of the Telegram, if you're interested in being a part of Stack Cash, you're welcome to join us as well. This is a true AMA, so you can ask us anything. And if not, I'll just talk about anything. No, just playing. So no, we're happy again to be able to discuss what's going on with the Stack Cash protocol. So today, and typically with these AMAs, unless there's questions, which we'll answer any question that you all might have. But today we'll be discussing reflections and rebalances. So, just for a preface, a lot of people, ask about how you're able to pay yield and how we'll be able to be sustainable over time. And, many APRs and other, if you see other blockchains or the projects, the APRs are simply off of basically the trades that happen on the dexes and so forth and so on, and the fees are shared. While we do have some portions of that, and we will have our own dex, primarily how we pay our APRs here and make sure they're sustainable, and not just that, to sustain the protocol and you as individual users for your rewards. We use something called over collateralization, which is basically using our reflections to pay all of the debts of the protocol. So it's going to be exciting today. And also, I know a lot of people is going to want to hear, how do I get paid from this? So, the reflections, not only does it pay the protocol, but it also pays you as an individual. We liken our stack token. Essentially, it's almost like Bitcoin. It's a store of value, and it'll go up over time. So we'll get deep into that today. So if you all would just again, feel free to join us on all the other platforms, Twitter, and also feel free to join us on YouTube right now. All right, so it looks like we have another board member coming on. We got OXDR, otherwise known as Doc. What's going on, Doc? How you doing today, man?
Hey, great, man. I want to be here as much as I can and come in and see what we can chat about and help people learn more and just get some more info. So,
Awesome, man. Awesome. Very happy to have you. I know we have Vin, as he's one of our regulars that comes on too. I know Vin's having some celebrations today. So just happy to have you up, man. Feel free, Doc. This is really conversational. So feel free to kind of chime in if you say, hey, if you have a question or something that would, clarify portions of the project, please feel free. Today, we're definitely talking about reflections and rebalances. So one key, before I kind of jump into some house cleaning, one key that's really important for everyone to understand is that not only do we have reflections, but we have multiple protocol treasuries that do something called rebalance. And when these protocol owned treasuries rebalance, again, it feeds the protocol and it also helps pay users or rewards. So, and it kind of connects with our NTTs and so many other things that we have here. So, we're just, we're playing some beautiful music and we're dancing to the beat today. So, feel free to again ask any questions you guys might have. All right, so let me get the screen here. And also, thank you to everyone who's in the StatCash Telegram, the DAO Telegram. We also we've been doing Twitter Spaces on Wednesdays, and that's been really exciting. We're trying to expand to get into a broader audience. One thing about StatCash is, we have such a specific type of contract that hasn't been seen. So many parts of what we have, especially with the team building and some other portions, haven't been seen before. So, we're just trying to get the message out. So if you guys would help us get the message out, that'd be awesome. All right, let me share my screen here. Oh, and also, those who are celebrating the holidays in America, happy holidays. I know it's July 4th will be coming up. I think it's Tuesday. So I know some people are celebrating that. So happy holidays as well. All right. So let's get right off into it. So as always, I like to kind of keep you guys updated on where we are as far as, updates and, essentially progress with the project. Typically into now, it's been this is the seventh month now. So we're building software. Of course, it's tough to build software, and like we always say, it's it's not simple what we're doing, but it's really easy to use. And if you also with the Twitter Spaces, if you guys would go back and check out our last Twitter Spaces, we discussed if you have people that want to onboard, if they have no clue, they're not in crypto yet, they don't know how to get their funds over. We did say how to onboard into Stack Cash, so please go feel free to check that out. We like to have a lot of tools and things available to you all, just all the information so you can know more. As always, here's our link tree. And we'll always have to keep our link tree updated. We'll talk about the website in just a moment, but the link tree has, essentially our primary information and resources for you to know a little bit more about what we have going on. At the very top here, we have our social media links: Twitter, Discord, Telegram, YouTube, and an email. And also, we have our site under construction. So our site is 90%, 95% done. We just have a couple tweaks we want to do. But I'll show the site in just a moment. If you guys want to go take a look, again, it's still under construction, so it's not complete, but you can kind of get an idea of where we are. I don't know, some people are saying, hey, where are you guys at? And, what's the next step in the process? Well, the website with the early adopters, so you have a chance to, be an owner with our NTTs. That's going to be available very, very, very soon. So if you want to kind of get yourself familiar with the website, please feel free. Also, here on the link tree, we have essentially our light paper. A lot of people want to know, what's the premise of the project. Well, the light paper is very, very clean here. Here we do have our version 2. We'll have a version 3 coming out soon with an updated roadmap. So if you want to know the basics of Stack Cash, the light papers here. Also, we got Doc on. Doc and I did an AMA previously that explains the light paper more thoroughly. So if some people like videos, if you want to, watch videos and learn through video, you can also go and check that out on our YouTube page, which is right here at the top. And last but not least, we have our white papers are all about Stack Cash. So we're up to part 6. We have part 7 that'll be coming out very soon, most likely this week. So if you would, a lot of people ask, hey, where's you guys' white paper or GitHub or what have you? So we have all of that, and we started and we've done things a little bit differently. And we're okay with being different because, when you're in your own lane, you don't have to worry about traffic. So I know some of you guys like that quote, but yeah, so we're in our own lane here. But at the same time, what we've done here is, we put all of our white paper parts into video form. So it's a little bit easier to take in. You can ride and listen to it, whatever you want to do with that. So we have part 6, and we'll get that updated here. But also part 7, the final, all about Stack Cash, the final white paper video will be out coming very, very soon. And last but not least, we also will be adding our AMAs as we do them. So today we're on number 10. But if you want to go back and kind of see some of the older AMAs, they're about an hour a piece and they're easy listening. So feel free to go and check that out as well. Also down here we got the interview with Doc and myself that you guys can go check out. Again, great information on the light paper here. And we'll talk about mediums in just a moment. All right. So really quickly before I get to the website, again, one of our board members, Little Fish, does a phenomenal job on writing about Stack Cash through Medium articles. I know some of you guys like mediums and things to essentially learn through reading, and we get that. We love that. So go check out Little Fish's Medium articles. He's done pretty much all of everything about our NTTs, our team building, so forth and so on. If you go search them here and it'll also we'll have it in the description as well. He does some really really good write ups on mediums, and we'll get that on our link tree as well. So shout out to Little Fish because these are really awesome, and people some people like reading on their own terms, so that's available to you all. And also, again, if you want to stay in the know, if you want to kind of be, in the in crowd of Stack Cash and, and kind of know, what's next and what we're talking about. Our Twitter is always a really, really good place. We keep this updated, and feel free to come like something and come comment. And as I said before, each Wednesdays, now we're getting a better time. So last week we did 3 p.m. Eastern. We might do another time this coming Wednesday. But if you would come check us out on our Twitter Spaces. Now, Twitter Spaces goes out to broad crowds. So here, it really allows us to, reach other people, as well as we talk about, regular traditional finance stuff and just kind of regular things. And we kind of bring it together and mesh it with Stack Cash. So again, last week we talked about, how to basically onboard, which is really awesome. We probably get that in video as well. And then even the week before, we talked about, essentially, I think we were talking about liquidity the week before. So this is a really good tool. So if you guys want to come check it out, we also have the link tree up here. So it's very, very convenient. And also, feel free to follow us and tell a friend and tell a friend. All right. And last but not least, we also have our website. Again, this is on the link tree, and we haven't promoted it publicly yet. However, it's again about 90% done. If you want to kind of get a glimpse of what's going on and what we have to come, the website is a great, great, great tool. Our first, basically our seed phase, we've already had a HBOR NTT kind of sale, but now we're moving into our seed phase where we'll have NTTs available for purchase, so you can get ownership in Stack Cash. Ownership. Now, if you kind of slow down for a second and you look around DeFi, what projects are offering you ownership? Some projects have dev wallets, some projects have team wallets. We don't have that. We have you all. We have our DAO members, and we have our committee and board members, all with a part in the protocol, which get paid directly from the protocol. And now is just a really good opportunity to be an early adopter in Stack Cash, meaning if you come in early now, you'll get, not only would you get an NTT, you'll also get rewards directly after the launch. So especially being early to the party, which is now is a really good time, you'll have an opportunity to get ownership and get some gains immediately after the Stack Fair launch. All right.
Yeah, and real quick,
And one more
I'll add for people that want to say on that, because a lot of people may not understand what that really means. So people know, they've seen on TV, you see like Shark Tank, you see like all these other shows about people who are venture capitals or VCs. What it really means is you have an opportunity that if you want to, you can invest and literally have a position. Like when those people invest money on Shark Tank, right? Because someone has whatever the heck the idea is, right? And you got Damon John or you got Mark Cuban or whatever fighting, right? Or Mr. Wonderful. I don't even know if he's still on it. But they're saying, okay, hey, I'll give you 100 grand for 20% of that company. So that means by you investing, you're going to be you're going to have a part, everybody has a part that you're going to be able to share in future revenue and future income from the project as an owner through the life of that company. So to be the life of the project. So that's an opportunity that people sometimes don't really understand what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really think about it in real world terms, and I like to try to give stories to make it understand for people, is that's what that means. That you would still have your own wallet, you would have your own participation, your own tokens and all that stuff. But this is an opportunity to, on top of that, be an actual like owner of the part of the project, of the protocol, just like you would think about when people are selling pieces of their company, trying to raise money through like the Shark Tank and those kind of things. So
great point, Doc. And even to add on top of that, it's permanent. So it's just like you get a stake in this DeFi project protocol forever. So especially as an early adopter. So that's a great point, Doc. Just imagine getting stock that, you only get the value from it, but it's permanent to you. So even if you sold a little bit of your rewards, you'll still have it available to you. So that's exactly what it is. Great explanation on that, Doc. And that's what makes us, it's kind of a first mover for us here at Stack Cash. No other project has this. They have NFTs, but NFTs are tradable, and you have to worry about a price and things like that. With NTTs, again, you're getting portions of our protocol owned treasuries. And those are built to continuously, we'll talk about reflections today and rebalances, but those are built to continuously go up. So, to Doc's point, just like just like Shark Tank and other things, people can offer, tokens is like cash and other things, but that ownership, they always want that ownership. So you have an opportunity here with Stack Cash to be an owner just like us, and get your share. And also with that ownership, you have private access, to have a say in the project on a board level, committee level, what have you. So really good points. Thanks, Doc. All right. So today, let me see if we can talk about anything. Okay. So ultimately, today we're talking about reflections. So some of you guys are familiar with reflect tokens and what that means. So I'll kind of go from like the bare bones at the base of it, and then we can kind of expand on how, essentially you can benefit from it. But with the stack token, this is our main token. The stack token is the backbone of the stack cash protocol. And what I mean by that is it's a store of value token. It's 10% in, 10% out. If you buy it on PancakeSwap, it's 11% fee. Or if you buy it on our DEX, it's a 10% fee. But with this stack token, every transaction that happens, a part of it goes to all of the users who hold stack tokens in their wallet. So typically in other projects and just around the space in general, if you want to make yield on a store of value or any token, you typically have to stake it or, essentially put it somewhere where you can make some APRs on it. You can add liquidity pairs, so forth and so on. With us, our primary focus in token is built to just continuously go up. So while we know people sell tokens and people are excited about buying tokens, we've taken it one step further. Whereas the incentive here is to hold the stack token, and as you hold it, our protocol owned treasuries is also growing stack tokens with every transaction that happens. So essentially, simply put, with every transaction on the Stack protocol, depending on how much Stack tokens you have, you'll be able to receive Stack rewards directly into your wallet just for holding in your wallet. So it's in your custody. Nothing you need to do. It's just every transaction that happens, and you'll be able to earn more. Just imagine if you could do that with Bitcoin, and that's kind of how we envision it. Bitcoin has two main parts to it. Essentially, it's a quantity supply shortage. So it's only 21 million Bitcoin that'll ever be created, right? So with stack token, there's only 100 million stack tokens that'll ever be created. And you got to think, essentially, our protocol treasuries, and then our team treasuries and users holding stack tokens will take stack token out of circulation. And what we're seeing from doing our work on this is going to be fairly quick. So the stack token is going to become rare and rare with every single transaction that takes place. So it's really, really important with stack is that people participate. So we have sweep stack, and we have our cash box, and we have all these other portions of the stack cash protocol. All of it plays a part into the stack token reflections. And not just that, we talked last week about how we're releasing, how we're launching the stack token and having the stack token launch. One thing that's really important is liquidity. The stack cash protocol is built to grow liquidity. So basically it'll be less stack available to buy over time, but also we'll continuously be building a liquidity floor. And another thing, people kind of, oh, well, what's going on with the liquidity floor? How's it? Can people dump on us? One way that Stack Cash is really awesome is that it's built to continuously grow that floor with every transaction with the fees. But not just that, just like we ran by board and committee, everything here is essentially done where we have to get multiple signatures. So we had a dev this week that received the payment. We had to get signatures from our board. So everything here is all fair, and it's all really as decentralized as possible and as democratic as possible. And that's why we're called a DAO as well, because everything is by vote. We voted on everything from top to bottom. But getting back to the stack token, again, this is a store of value. So if you think of it, people love Bitcoin, and you think of why they love Bitcoin. They love it because there's not a lot in circulation. We talk a lot about the Bitcoin halving and other situations around the first, cryptocurrency ever created. Well, the stack token is essentially an advanced version of that, whereas not only, will they, become less or less available, they'll become you'll be able to get rewards for it just for holding in your wallet, which you can't do with Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other major tokens, BNB even. So that's something that's really, really phenomenal about Stack Token. And we'll talk about reflections. Let me get the screen together. And Doc, do you have anything? I
Yeah,
mean, keep
yeah, and
talking,
just
man.
people know about staking, right? People know about proof of stake, right? ETH changed to proof of stake from proof of work. They now have it where you have to have, 32 ETH. You have to stake if you want to be that. Other ones don't need as much in other projects, but proof of stake just means that you're earning a percentage of, like, so either transaction fees or sometimes some of the node operators. So I'm going a little deep in some things people may not know, but the point is, by holding it in your wallet is the same as you going separate and actually staking it, because you're just going to get a percentage moving forward and you're going to earn more just because you own it. So in a sense, it's like staking, but you're just holding it yourself in your wallet. The way that's how I kind of like try to think of it.
No, that's exactly what it is, Doc. That is a great explanation. Exactly. So, again, to Doc's point, just like proof of stake, however, it's a step easier. So you don't have to, worry about, approving another transaction, having it sitting somewhere and it
And you have to
stakes it.
deposit it. Yeah, proof of stake, you have to deposit it somewhere. If you're on a centralized exchange, could it get compromised? If it's in your wallet, it's in your wallet.
Exactly. Exactly. And Doc, I get excited about that because we've seen reflection tokens, but we haven't seen reflection tokens that essentially continuously grows user rewards. And not just that, the protocol rewards as well. I just, I love that about Stack Cash and how we're offering this. um, and again, the Stack token is the base of everything here. Now, we talked about cash a lot. The cash token that's one-to-one with USD. It's our utility coin. People say, hey, how do you make sure that you can pay, 0.5% per day in cash box? And how do you make sure that you can pay those things? Well, the stack token is the prime way. The stack token, again, volume is what builds the liquidity and also essentially makes stack less available. Excuse me. But with that as well, we use those stack reflections because we have our protocol treasuries. We use those stack reflections to pay for the cash APRs. So that's how we essentially pay all of the contracts that we have. That's how it's paid off. That's how we can provide a stable yield, which is phenomenal in how that actually works. All right, so let me take a step back here. Okay, so the stack token again, I kind of explained some of the main parts of it. One thing that we're first movers in stack cash for many, many reasons, but the reflections, not only does again your user wallets get those reflections just for holding it in your MetaMask or your Trust wallet, what have you. However, also we have these protocol owned treasuries. And this is for us. This is literally a first mover in the DeFi space. But how it works is we have these treasuries that are protocol owned. Nobody has access to them, and even some of them will be immutable, and we'll grow to have all of them immutable over time. But essentially, these are just market participants, and they actually not only are they market participants, but they also do multiple things. The main primary thing is it takes stack out of circulation. So there's two places that we want stack. We want stack in users wallet. Well, sorry, three places: in users wallets, in team treasuries, as well as these protocol treasuries. Once that happens, there's going to be less stack available to buy in the LPs off of RDEX and off of PancakeSwap. All that simply means is the less stack available with higher liquidity. It means the price of stack generally goes, or the price of whatever token generally goes up with that. So again, with every transaction that happens, we'll see the liquidity, this holding stack that gets some reflections. The stack generator, the largest market participant, and I'll explain that in just a moment. That also gets those reflections, and it gets always is built to get the most reflections. always over half of the reflections goes to this stack generator. And what that does is, and we'll talk rebalances in just a moment, but what that does is, with the stack generator, it sells itself off in what we call a rebalance. And all that does is add stack liquidity. So it makes more stack available so people can buy it. Because I'll tell you, once this thing gets going and stack becomes rare and more rare, people are going to be clamoring for stack generator rebalances to get more stack tokens because the price is going to continuously go up, because we're adding liquidity along the way. So the stack generator, again, is the largest market participant, and it'll always get the most stack token reflections. And that, again, it only helps the protocol. The regulator, this is another protocol treasury. Now, remember, no protocol has these types of treasuries, all these types of treasuries that can help you. The regulator is the second largest holder of stack tokens, and it'll always pretty much be the second holder of stack tokens. And what the regulator does, the regulator pays off primarily the cash token debt. So if we talk, if we're looking over on the cash token with Cache, our single asset staking pool, it pays those APRs. It also primarily, and this is a big part, some of you guys are used to CD contracts, or other words, ROI contracts. We have a version of that, but we've made it way more sustainable. It's also self-sustainable, but we're not going to go there today. But it should become self-sustainable. But this regulator's primary purpose is to pay cash box rewards. So once you get in cash box, it's essentially paying you that yield, and also it pays off CBC rewards, if needed. So the goal for us is to have our cash token projects, our smart contracts, to be self-sustainable, so the regulator can literally just continuously grow. And as the regulator grows and as this generator grows, again, what happens? There's less stack tokens available. So all of these grow through what? Reflections. So that's why one thing you'll hear us emphasizing with all of our parts of the project, the more you participate, the higher the value of the entire protocol and the higher value that you'll be holding of, especially of your stack tokens in your wallet. So with that, also, again, let me kind of show here. All right. So with every transaction, again, if people buy and sell stack tokens, it's that 10% fee that, we have some going to all the holders, and then we have a lot going to stack liquidity directly. With every buy and every sale, our stack liquidity is going to grow. So, what I would probably like to do is, show, let's show the stack price, of course, but also show what's the floor. Because a lot of people want to know, okay, if everybody dumps all their stack tokens, what does that leave us? And I think that's the key here, is a constantly growing liquidity pool, stack and both cash, and it's built into the contract and the constructs of the contract. And also, going back, our stack token, and let me put a really big emphasis on this. The way we have our protocol treasuries, and there's only 100 million stack ever created, the way we have our protocol treasuries, we are not burning tokens. Now, as a DeFi veteran, I've been here 6-7 years. I will tell you, burning is great at first. It sounds great. However, it does leave vulnerabilities, because essentially when you burn tokens, it goes into another wallet and it just basically comes out of circulation. Well, what we've done here is we've done the same thing, the same concept as burning. However, there's no additional wallet that's going to store tokens. The protocol treasuries are going to be where the tokens are essentially going to be stored, and the team treasuries. So again, stack tokens could it's going to be harder and harder to get a stack token over time. So that's all based off of reflections. Now, kind of to what Doc and I was talking about earlier, the NTTs, or the ownership in the platform. So, reflections, again, it comes to all of these are market participants. So these protocol, the board treasury, the committee treasury, the stack cash treasury, and all the team treasuries, including users custody, all get these reflections, right? So when we say that why it's important to really think about being an early adopter and getting the NTT ownership. So all the ownership means is, if you get, just say if you got a board NTT or H board NTT, you'll be able to get reflection rewards, a part of the reflection rewards from the third largest participant in the project in perpetuity forever, basically. So, and that's what the board treasury does. The board treasury, it adds rewards for the board entity and H board entity holders, but primarily what it does, it takes stack out of circulation, but it also prevents the larger investors or whales from dumping. And that's key because a lot of people say, hey, how is this thing well proof? How is this thing well proof? Well, our NTTs and our board treasury, if a certain whale after the launch, if a certain whale, just say they, start buying up stack tokens more and more and more, well, at a certain point, they're going to automatically be triggered for the H board NTT, and they'll be getting a portion of the board treasury here. And essentially, what that does is it stymies their need to sell stack tokens for rewards or gains. So the key here is with the stack tokens, with the reflections, is to hold as much of it as possible for as long as possible. If you do that, most likely, not only will the protocol be phenomenal, and especially with liquidity just going through the roof, you will personally get more value, especially getting in early. So again, owning a H board or a board NTT allows you to get reflections from this board treasury in addition to what you're already holding in your wallet. Committee NTT, it kind of works the same way. Again, it's the fourth, always will be the fourth largest participant, and it gets these reflections constantly with every transaction. And as those reflections grow, it shares some of the rewards. So it's really almost, I don't know if you guys have had like timeshares or other things. That's what it basically is. When you purchase a NTT, you're getting a part of the ownership in these protocol owned treasuries. Now the regulator and the stack generator, they generally just work for the contract or the protocol. So there's no parts of all of that coming out, but those as they grow, again, everything else shrinks. But this committee and this board treasury, again, this is meant to pay users and to reward users for wanting to be a part of it and own the protocol with us. It keeps us all safer, and we all earn rewards for holding in our wallet. The committee treasury, as far as reflections, it doesn't do as well as a board treasury. I'll be honest with you. However, what it does do, it really helps the average investor to have some ownership in the protocol. So let's just say, let me give you guys an example. Let's just say, because we're talking regular people with the committee treasury. Let's just say, somebody has something come up and they have hospital bills. They have something they have to pay for in their family. We get it, right? They have to sell whatever they have in crypto to be able to help their family out. Well, if you're in a committee NTT holder, one thing that's really awesome about that is that it sticks to your wallet forever. So, in that said, just say you had to sell all your stack, you had to sell all your cash, you couldn't do anything else. Well, this essentially gives you a head start to come right back because you'll be earning not just cash box principal from the committee treasury, you'll also be earning more stack out of these reflections. The larger these, the more committee NTT holders we have, it's gonna the reward is gonna go down. So it really benefits you to be a board NTT holder or H board NTT holder. However, again, you'll still be able to get these rewards as a part owner in the project. And not just that, one thing, shout out to the board because I think the board did a phenomenal job of thinking this through. If you're a board NTT holder or committee NTT holder, around, obviously you have to own your own custody and keep your stuff safe. But people get hacked and things happen, unfortunately, in DeFi. However, one thing that we offer with this is, you can get a secondary address, and if you lose access to your committee treasury or board, or I'm sorry, if you lose access to your wallet, um, and is we'll go through. It's a certain process you have to go through. You can also get this committee NTT or board NTT put into another wallet. Now we can't replace your tokens, but what we can replace is your NTTs into a similar wallet that you provided for us. So that's just an added measure of comfortability for users to know how important it is to be an owner in the project. It's great because especially in DeFi, we'll be honest, guys, people just want to get the token and kind of have a plans for what they do with the tokens. Well, Stack Cash as DeFi users, and you remember our slogan is for DeFi users by DeFi users. So as DeFi users, we know how to play the game essentially, and we'll play the game with you. But again, we emphasize it's because of reflections, and we'll talk rebalances in just a moment. Because of those reflections, it's really, really important. If you want long term gain and a little bit, to be honest, more sustainability, to essentially get these NTTs. All right, so moving right along, the last or the fifth largest protocol on Treasury is the stack cash Treasury. So the stack generator, the regulator, and the stack Treasury, again, just like they're all market participants, so they'll be getting the fair share of stack reflections. The stack cash Treasury's job is to make sure these other treasuries continuously grow. So that's what's really awesome about it. It grows the regulator, the board treasury, and the committee treasury. And it also, one thing it does, it builds our cash vault. So, to not get, too, because we're not talking as much about cash today. But, we'll also have a cash vault, which backs up our cash box. And what that does, it lets us pay that 0.5% APR per day. It allows that because it takes pressure off the regulator to need to continuously provide for it. So simply put, the reflections used that's come into the stack cash treasury is built to maintain the strength of the other treasuries. Last but not least, we have the team treasuries, and I think last time we'll talk about it again. But team treasuries. Oh, also that we're also having some updates. Once the white paper is released, you team leaders will be able to see how important it is to have a team treasury, especially early. But the team treasury, they also earn reflections. So one key you see is that everything here, all of our protocol own, treasuries earn reflections. That means just for holding stack, they'll get more stack tokens. But each treasury, a team can grow their treasury as large as they like. And we'll talk about how treasury rebalances, which you guys are going to like rebalances. I think that's really awesome. But with the reflections that come into your team treasury, not the ones that come into your personal wallet, that's you, right? But your teams also get reflections. However, what we've done with team treasury reflections, they pay back to you guys essentially once a month. So bi-weekly, you'll be able to get reflections or rebalances off of all the transactions that happens on the protocol. So to simplify, make it very simple, you know, every time there's a stack buy or sell, it adds to liquidity, and it also builds these protocol treasuries as well as gives you more stack tokens in your wallet. All right. And this is the gamma squeeze. This is essentially,
And real quick,
you know,
I'm gonna say too that
yep.
it compounds for people to understand math too. It compounds, right? So compound means you earn more, but when you earn more, the next time that extra new amount earns more, and that newer amount gets you to earn more. So it's a compounding effect too over time.
Great point. Great point. Exactly. I love it. Exactly. The stack you hold in your wallet, that's what it's doing. It's compounding for you. It's
Yeah, because if
compounding
you have
for you.
100 and you earn two, you got 102. But now the 102 earns the higher percentage, and then when you have 105, well, now the 105 earns that new percentage. So over time, it just keeps doing that.
Exactly, Doc. You know, you know what they say about compound interest. Those who understand it receive it, and those who don't pay it. Pay the interest. So, but with this compound interest is phenomenal because not only are you doing that, like to Doc's point, you're doing that in your wallet. Every time you get more stack, you get a higher percentage off the stack you hold. That's why reflections are awesome. But also, just think about these larger protocol owned treasuries. They're doing the exact same thing. The larger they get, the more percentage they get, the less stack that's in circulation. So again, that's why those NTTs, you want to be an owner. You want to get a part of, of this second largest treasury that's going to be constantly growing in stack tokens. Great point, Doc. All right. So we just kind of explain how the treasuries work. And I'm saying how the reflections work for that. And also just really quickly, here in our white paper, as you guys will see, we'll break down exactly what the reflections from each of these treasuries are exactly doing. So with the regulator, it's basically going back to cash APRs mostly, and the rest of it is going essentially back to grow itself. So that's essentially what that's doing. With the board treasury, about half of it is going to rebuild itself. So the reflections kind of stay with it. Other than that, 20% of all the reflections goes to the board entity or H board entity holders in the form of stack. And another 20% goes to board entity or H board entity holders in the form of cash box principal. So again, you'll be able to earn that stable 0.5% per day yield in the cash box. And then with the board treasury, those with those reflections, 10% goes to build the regulator. So continuously paying the cash debt. On the committee side, if you get a committee entity, well, what the committee treasury does with reflections, 40% of its reflections goes back into itself. So it continuously grows itself into the Doc's point. Um, our protocol treasuries are, basically doing compound interest, and your wallets are doing compound interest. 20% goes directly to the committee entity holders in the form of stack tokens. So stack can be divvied up based on how much you hold. Now, bear this in mind. The committee entity is a straight cost of is $1,000, right? With that $1,000, you'll be earning stack over time forever to that wallet. So the more stack you hold, the more stack you're going to get from, if you're a committee entity holder or even a board entity holder, you'll be getting more stack with the more stack you hold, not just for your regular transactions or regular reflections, also with what you're getting from the board treasury and committee treasury. So it kind of all works together. Another 20% of the committee treasury reflection goes into directly into the committee entity holders cash box principal. So you'll be able to earn, the way I see cash box is you can earn a daily bread and earn a paycheck. Some people want to earn a paycheck. You want $1,000 a week, $2,000 a week. You can work your way up to that using cash box. Also, 10% of the committee treasury reflections goes to the regulator. Obviously, we keep growing the regulator because that pays our cash. And 10% actually goes of reflections from the committee treasury goes to build that larger will in front of it, the board treasury. Now with the stack cash treasury, again, this is the treasury that's built from, if those people who get into the project, they buy stack tokens, they get on a team. If they don't have a board treasury or committee treasury, a portion of the stack that they buy goes to build the stack cash treasury. And while we want everybody to be a board entity or committee entity holder, we understand that a lot of people are just not going to do it. So we'll keep talking to you about it. We'll keep promoting it for you. But at the same time, the stack cash treasury, it grows the other treasuries. So with its reflections, a quarter of its reflections goes to build the regulator. Remember, I said it builds the other treasuries. 20% of the stack cash reflections goes to build the board treasury. So again, the value of ownership here is key, and that's what we want to emphasize. 20% of the reflections from the stack cash treasury goes directly into the cash USDC vault, or in other words, goes directly to cash liquidity. So sustainability. People, how's it going to pay? Is it just an ROI going to dump on us? And no. This is how we continuously make sure that we're over collateralized with our cash side. And 15% of the stack cash reflections goes to the committee treasury, and 10% of the stack cash reflections goes to build our stack liquidity. Now, remember, I said, we build our liquidity as we go. So, with every transaction, we're building more and more floor of liquidity that essentially won't be sold because of the size of these treasuries. So that's really important. And especially with the stack cash treasury growing, we'll talk rebalances really quickly in just a moment. But this stack liquidity is being fed from the stack cash treasury. That's just another way that we're adding liquidity as we go. Real quick on the team treasuries, for the reflection side, again, it pays once a month. And this is going to be essentially based on your participation. So the more you participate, the more you get. And these are just a breakdown of the percentage within a team. We'll talk more teams at another time. But yeah, so the team treasuries as well, it's more regulated here on the team treasury side, but we built it to be every 2 weeks, kind of like a paycheck. So, all right, really quickly. So we talked reflections ad nauseum. If you guys have any questions about how reflections work, please ask, because that's the basis or the crux of how we provide APR. People ask, where's the APR coming from? Well, it's coming from the protocol itself, with the volume being able to pay itself back. The APR should be able to pay you guys out. And, the 0.5% per day, people must say, oh, is that sustainable? Is that this? We're used to APRs going down, to be honest with them, over time. But one thing that's phenomenal about us is, especially how we're building this thing with the liquidity, the APRs will be stable, and to be honest, will be have more than enough collateral to be able to make sure that cash box and our cash token stays stable. All right, let's talk really quickly about rebalances. So another major portion to how this works is everything, all of those treasures I just talked about, all of them do what's called a rebalance. So in order to keep its position in line, we don't want the regulator to get larger than the stack generator or the board treasury to get larger than the regulator. So each of our protocol owned treasuries will always be in the position that it's in. And when it gets too large, it does what's called a rebalance. And that rebalance, in most cases, benefits the users, but it also benefits the protocol. So now, the stack generator. The stack generator is probably the most important rebalance that can happen. So with the rebalance of the stack generator, it helps the protocol, as I said before. The stack generator, once it gets to, because again, it's going to be at 50 million, tokens to start, stack tokens to start. With all the transactions, with all the reflections that's going to build a stack generator, just building it as the largest holder is going to get the most. Once it gets to 5.25 million stack tokens, it sells 0.5% of its stack, or it sells 250,000 stack tokens back into stack liquidity. What that does, essentially, people might say, oh, is that, dumping its own token and this and that? It's not dumping the token, but it is selling it to basically help the holders, because adding it to stack liquidity, that means it's more money available if you want to sell your stack. So that helps you. It's just a big help with that rebalance. And again, it happens every 250,000 tokens that the stack generator does. It automatically sells those tokens back down. And where does it put those tokens? Well, again, remember I said it'll be less and less stack available to buy. The stack generator assures that you know you won't get outpriced. It won't get to $100,000,000 stack too fast. So it basically makes it to whereas people look for buying opportunities, they'll be looking at the stack generator rebalance for the next buying opportunity. Another is next treasury is the regulator. Now, this is very specific to us. And the way we've done this is some really complex math. But the stack generator, I'm sorry, but the regulator, we know its main purpose, as I said before, is to help out the cash APRs to pay our debt. So the regulator, it's a little bit different, and I don't want to confuse anybody, but essentially it's built to gradually hold more and more stack tokens. However, whenever it gets to plus 2% of the stack tokens that it holds, it sells off its excess stack tokens to add to what? To cash liquidity. So here again, it can't get larger than the stack generator, but it also adds the liquidity to the cash side. So you're wondering how Cashbox can pay out at 0.5% a day and up to 200% of your deposit. That's how it does it. And not only just that, we make sure that the regulator continuously gets gradually larger and larger while continuously to pay back the protocol in cash tokens. All right. Now, these are the rebalances that you guys are going to want to listen up for. We're almost done here, guys, but this is the good stuff here. So now, not only does our top regulator and our board and our stack generator rebalance to help the protocol, but we also have our other treasuries. They rebalance to help who? Both the protocol and the users. And this is important. So let's talk about the board treasury. Remember, the board entity holders and H board entity holders, they get a portion of the rewards from the reflections of the board treasury. They also get a portion of the rewards when the board treasury rebalances. So basically, we make sure that the board treasury does not get larger than the treasury above it, which is the regulator. It has to stay as the third largest participant. So essentially, when the board treasury gets to 15% of the size of the regulator, anytime now, remember, as the regulator gets larger, it's going to be harder for the board treasury to hit that 15%. However, especially early, this would probably happen pretty often. It sells 5% of its stack tokens that it's holding to come back down to 10% of the size of the regulator. So again, it's always the size of the board treasury is always going to be according to whatever the size of the regulator is. And you'll see all the treasuries work the same exact way. They have to stay in their place. So, but again, this is the third largest participant. And what happens to that 5%? Well, 20% of that 5% that the stack that is sold goes to stack liquidity, right? So again, the more participation, the more volume, the faster that adds to more stack liquidity. 20% goes to cash liquidity. So helping out the regulator, making it more sustainable. Now, board entity holders, listen up. Remember, I said, you'll always be able to get more stack and you'll always be able to get more cash box principal by being a owner. This is why that's important. So 20% of all the rebalances that happens with the board treasury goes to the stack board and H board NTT holders. So they get that directly in stack tokens into their wallet, right? Also, the same amount, essentially the same amount, is 20% of the cash of 20% of the stack that's sold goes directly into their cash box principal. So board entity holders and H board entity holders will be able to get more cash box principal and more stack over time for just being a owner, essentially. Also, 10% goes to the regulator, and 10%. This is what's key about rebalances. They actually build, as reflections kind of build up, the rebalances kind of build down. So 10% of the board treasury rebalance goes down to build the committee treasury, to basically add to the committee treasury. So that's very significant. The rebalances here, again, as the regulator is getting larger, the board treasury with every board and H board entity holder, with every stack buy they have, this builds the board treasury. With anybody who wants to become a H board entity holder, well, pre-launch, but after launch, you can only do it by hitting a certain amount. I don't want to get too deep, but you can only do it by hitting a certain amount. So this will be very, very rare. It's really important if you want to get long-term gains off the protocol. The board and the H board entity is especially early as an early adopter. But you can only do that from getting the average amount of stack that's held by all those entity holders. All right, let's keep it moving. I got a couple more. I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you guys for joining us for our 10th AMA. Also, if you would please remember to hit that like, and leave some comments. If you're not live, that's fine. If you're on Twitter, if you're on YouTube, that's fine. Please leave comments. We'll always respond to you guys. Just we want to hear from you. If you have questions, because the rebalances and the reflections are really, really important to how Stack Cash works. We're more than willing to help you and answer those questions.
Yeah,
All right.
this is a lot of great stuff. To say there's a lot of great stuff, and there's a lot to absorb. I know some of it may be a little bit like over the head, or what is all this? But the more you look at it, the more you see how it breaks down. The more you see how basically it's all meant to feed into the others. So take your time with it, review it, go back and watch this again, or read some stuff. I understand sometimes it can take a little, but once you start getting it and it clicks, then you can really, really see the potential.
Good point, Doc. And we'll also have this available very, very soon. Again, our white paper will be out so you can read it for yourself. But for now, if you want to kind of listen back on it, you can listen here, or we also have All About Stack Cash, which we talked about rebalances and reflections there as well. Now I will say this, and we're first movers for a lot of things with how we treat our DAO, how we treat our funds, with everything being multi-sig, but we're also first movers in how we're doing these rebalances and things like that. So we get that there's a learning curve, but we're pride ourselves on being a transparent project. We are very open with how this works. We want you to understand how it works. We don't want, we want this to be very, very open with you guys, so you don't feel like you're not a part of it. We want everybody to have a chance to be a part of this. So, but good stuff, Doc. Thank you for saying that because it might seem like it's over your head, but once you're a part of it, once you start reading it and see how it works, you be like, wow, wait a minute, this kind of works. It's kind of cool. So very good. All right, real quick. The committee treasury also has a rebalance. Similar to the board treasury, the size of the committee treasury is based off the size of the board treasury. Remember, the committee treasury and the board treasury can never get bigger than the regulator. The committee treasury can never get bigger than the board treasury. So they have to stay in line. So the committee treasury has to always be the fourth largest market participant in Stack. All right. So at 75%, when the committee treasury reaches 75% of the board treasury, it sells 15% of its stack to return down to 60% of the size of the board treasury. So as the regulator grows, as the board treasury grows, the committee treasury also grows as well. And remember, think about this. If you're if the board treasury rebalances, its supply is going down, right? The committee treasury, which is based off the total supply or the supply of the board treasury, if the rebalance happens on the board treasury, most likely the committee treasury will be soon after it because it's going to reach 75% of the total of the board treasury a little bit faster. But I don't want to get too too complex on you guys. But essentially, the committee treasury grows according to the board treasury. Now, what does it do with that 15%? So 20% goes to stack liquidity. And another thing is to kind of show you guys, because people are like, okay, well, are the board entity and the community entity holders, are they going to be dumping on the market? That's something that as DeFi users, we've taken into heavy thought, right? And we want people to feel free. If they want to sell, they need to sell, feel free. But with these rebalances, the great thing about it, if you look at the percentages, we've added stack liquidity in the same amount of stack that we're actually giving to the committee entity holders in this case. So it actually covers it. It actually balances out. And when they sell their stack, you're still adding to the stack liquidity. So overall, we're no matter all the committee and the board entity holders sell all of their stack tokens every rebalance, we're still going to end up with more stack liquidity at the end of the day. Just had to say that. All right, so real quick, and I'll get you guys out of here. The cash liquidity, so of that, the stack that's sold here, 15%, I'm sorry, 20% goes to cash liquidity. So again, helping our cash size stay stable. 20% goes to the committee entity holders in the form of stack. So just like they get reflections, they'll be getting committee entity rebalances. That's huge. Another 20% goes directly into their cash box principal. So they'll be able to earn more over time. 10% of that sale goes to the regulator. So remember, we keep the regulator strong as we can. And one thing that's really interesting about the committee treasury, which the stack cash treasury is not really, people can't buy that. So with the committee treasury, it feeds every rebalance of the committee treasury feeds the sweep stack rewards. We'll talk about that at another time. But that is huge because people say, hey, where's the sweep stack money coming from? Well, every time the committee treasury rebalances, it's going to be growing that sweep stack rewards, and we have other places that's going to grow too. So that's how the committee the committee rebalances work. So again, ask questions. We'll always be able to answer them. But this stuff, once you figure it out, again, once it clicks, we want it to click with all you guys. It's going to really click, and it's going to make a lot of sense how we're not burning tokens, but we're taking more and more stack out of circulation. And we have taxes on each transaction, so it continuously builds upon itself. Now, last two, and I'll let you guys go, is the stack cash treasury. Always got to be the fifth largest participant. And just like everything else, it cannot grow larger than the committee treasury. So once the stack cash treasury gets to be 100% of essentially the exact same size of the committee treasury, it sells half of its stack tokens back on the market and returns to 50% of the committee treasury. Now, one thing, because we don't spend a lot of time on talking about the stack cash treasury, but the stack cash treasury is significant because this treasury will get, if people off the street just buy stack, they don't get a board at committee NTT. The stack cash treasury grows with each buy and sell of stack with those regular people that don't have that percentage going to the board or the committee. So all that's basically saying is that the stack cash treasury will grow fast and it'll be able to probably reach the committee treasury size fairly often, probably rebalance more than any other treasury. So what happens when that rebalances? So again, we've talked about this before. 20% going to stack liquidity. That sound familiar? 20% goes to stack liquidity. 20% goes to cash liquidity on that rebalance. 20%, again, it sounds familiar. It goes to grow the regulator. We have 10%. Remember, the stack cash treasury helps the other protocol treasuries. 10% of that stack goes to the board treasury. 10% goes to the committee treasury. 10% kind of goes into, if you want to call it cash, as another form of cash liquidity, but basically our cash vault. So our USDC vault, where we hold to basically have reserves for our cash token. And last but not least, this is big. 10% of those rebalance rewards from the Stack Cash Treasury goes to build this to the sweep stack rewards. So remember, I think I talked in the previous AMA about how sweep stack continuously, gets an outside source of funds. Well, the rebalances is a big outside source of funds to continuously grow that sweep stack, so you guys can get direct BNB every day if you focus on that as a team. All right, last but not least, I'm sorry I'm a little bit over time, guys. I'm just a couple more minutes. I'll let you guys go. The team treasury. So each team treasury also has a rebalance. However, it's not based on the size of the other treasuries. The team treasuries rebalances essentially happen monthly. So, first 2 weeks of the month, you'll probably have your rebalance. I'm sorry, you'll have your reflections. The next 2 weeks, just like a paycheck, the next 2 weeks, the rebalances pays essentially the team members. So the way the team treasuries work. So all the new stack that's been bought by any team member that month, I'm sorry, all the new stack that's been added to that team treasury over the month, based on how percentage of people who buy and stack and things like that. Um, you know, it takes, whatever that is plus the old stack, and it sells 50% of the new stack. So let's say, example, if you have a team treasury and you guys have gotten 100 stack over the month in your treasury, 50% of that stack is sold back or rebalanced back to the team members, and it returns back down to, essentially, let me say it like this: the team treasury always grows in size with stack because it never sells 100% of its new stack. So it grows its balance slowly. And we'll talk about it another time, what happens if a team treasury gets too large, because it can never get larger than the Stack Cash treasury. And that's something that's going to be really cool for the team members. Matter of fact, we can talk about it now. So if a team treasury gets 10% of the size of the Stack Cash treasury size, it has a mega rebalance. And what that means is it rebalances half of the total team treasury size in tokens until it gets down to 5% of the Stack Cash treasury size. So all that's saying is, team builders, you want to get this team treasury as large as possible because it's going to pay the team members back the most. So let's talk about what happens monthly. So every 2 weeks, but every month, 20% of this new stack that's sold will go to stack liquidity. 20% will go to cash liquidity. All again, it's covering, if people want to sell it, it's covering those sales. 20% of all the new 50% of the new stack that goes into your team treasury gets paid back to your team members as long as they participated during that month. If a team member does not buy stack during the month, they will not qualify to get these rebalance rewards in direct stack. Also, 20%, another 20% goes directly into all your team members' cash box principal directly. So again, they have to participate in Cashbox at least once that month in order to get these rewards, or they won't receive them. Another 10% goes into the team cash bonds, and the last 10% goes to the team leader. So in the form of stack. So team leaders, the rebalance pretty much pays more than anything else. So the key is as a team leader, you want this team to continuously grow, your treasury to grow, so you'll get more stack. But not just that, some team leaders like myself, I probably will, I'll probably airdrop that stack back to my team members. Team leaders can do whatever they want to do with it, though. So essentially, that's how rebalances work for team treasuries. All right. I'm sorry. And also, I'm sorry, 10%. Let me explain the team cash bonds real quick. Each team also has a cash bond or cash box that they receive on, right? So 10% of those rebalances builds that team cash box. So again, just like a paycheck, team members based on cash box also get that too. All right. Sorry, that was a mouthful. Pause. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't mean to run over. But that's how the rebalances work, and that's how the reflections work for the protocol. So overall, just so you guys know, that's how it all kind of comes together, and that's how our APRs are paid. Gotcha. That's how our APRs are paid. So if people ask, hey, how's the APRs paid in you guys' contract? It's through reflections and through basically the volume. So with more participation becomes basically more value to the stack token and more rebalances and more reflections, the whole nine. Everything just gets better. All right. Board member, what's going on, Little Fish? Again, check out Little Fish's mediums. Ricky said, Little Fish said, I'm tuning in at work. Good stuff. Okay, man. Appreciate that. Said he's tuning in at work. Thank you. Thank you. Good point here, Little Fish. He says Stack Cash is built to be scalable. So although being early and holding is best, you will make big gains down the road too. Very, very good point, Little Fish. It's scalable in the fact that, you know, this is going to, it goes the opposite of how we see in the traditional DeFi. It's going to go up over time. The liquidity goes up, the value goes up, everything kind of goes the opposite way and it's built that way. So, being early is great, but down the road, you'll be able to get a lot of gains as well. Not only just that, it's also built for organizations and institutions. That's why the team building, people want to think about it in the form of DeFi. Yes, that's where it starts, but it's bigger than that. Institutions will be able to take advantage to make gains over time as well. But great point, Little Fish. Appreciate that. Also, Little Fish says, our reflections pay hourly, daily, weekly, or at the time of every transaction? Good question. So, with this is really depends. We're at a certain point down the road, reflections will be essentially automatic. So, once we get to the point where, fees won't be as much of a problem, reflections just happen automatically and it just go in every second. Right now, we'll probably trigger early on to do about an hourly, payment of reflections. Actually, let me correct that. What we'll do, this is actually callable by the users. Let me say that. Thank you for saying that, Little Fish. So we as a team don't even call that. That actually is called by any user that wants to do it. Now, if nobody does it, the team will call it. So you can get paid reflections every minute if you want to approve that transaction. So we make that public so as anybody can call that transaction and approve that transaction, to basically pay everybody reflections, all the protocol treasuries and all the users. So that's a very good question. So to answer it is basically the reflection can be paid whenever it's called. Now, as a team, we'll make sure, especially early on, that if nobody does it publicly, we'll make sure that we do it. But we don't want that. We want anybody in the project to know that, hey, I can basically pay reflections to everybody if I call this transaction. So very, very, very good question. That's a high level question, Little Fish. But yes, so we'll basically allow for users to be able to call that transaction to basically have the reflections. It's very transparent to have the reflections go to everybody. Good stuff. All right, Doc. Did you have anything else, man? I appreciate you tuning in today, man, and adding some valuable parts to the talk, man.
No, yeah, I wanted you to just, of course, go into everything, and great job, of course, as always, and everybody has the questions and comments. But it's just the thing is that just to understand that how it's going to work and how there's different parts and how, yes, you can definitely benefit if you get an NTT, whatever level you're comfortable with. But the point is, things can earn over time for everyone regardless. And a lot of people have a stigma against teams, and you can see, and if you dig into it, how the team part is very fair. If you participate, you get a reflection. If your team leader does not participate, they don't get one either. So it's not like people who build teams and then their teams don't get the benefit and they don't trickle down. Everything on the, as you can see, has all been written and done, thought out very well to be as fair as possible for all participants.
Great point, Doc. And even to add on that, people hate waiting on airdrops. Here, your airdrops are what you receive on a bi-weekly basis, and it's based on how much you hold in your wallet. Nothing to do with your team leader. So the team leader's main role is to bring people on and to build a treasury and to nominate. And we'll talk about that at another time. But other than that, the team treasuries are built for you, and you can control how much you want to make out of it. And to Doc's point, everything here is built to be fair and built to be essentially beneficial for the protocol and for you, the users. Guys, this was Stack Cash AMA number the 10th one. We thank you guys for joining us. If you're watching on a replay, go ahead and ask us questions in the comments, or come into our Telegram. We appreciate you tuning in. Today, we talked about reflections and rebalances. We'll have more information coming. Also, again, stay tuned for our physical white paper so you can read it. We also have it in a video form, though. And also stay tuned for more on our early adopters on how to get those NTTs. We talked about the importance of it today and how you can do well with it at whatever price or whatever rate you feel comfortable with. So feel free to look into that, and we'll give you more information as needed. Okay, guys, thank you. Enjoy your Saturdays. Thank you for joining Stack Cash. See you next time.
Yep. See ya.